This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight we watched The Legend of Hercules, the origin story behind the mythical Greek hero. Betrayed by his stepfather, the king, and exiled and sold into slavery because of a forbidden love, Hercules must use his formidable powers to fight his way back to his rightful kingdom. Let's watch. Does not read well.
No, it doesn't. It's like some real George Lucas dialogue where like you read it and it's okay, but it just comes out all mealy-mouthed.
Mealy-mouthed?
Mealy-mouthed.
Oh. Who's Millie?
No one.
What are you doing in her mouth?
No, nothing.
You've got a girlfriend, man.
No, it's not really a mouth. It's a cave that we call the mouth. And where it leads,
no one knows.
Where it leads is a place of wonders.
Oh my god.
Well, I know. Would you like to see?
I would like to see the baby.
Well then, first, you must open your eyes. Now, open your ass.
Okay.
Same time though. Can't close your eyes while you do it. Keep those peepers open. No blinking either. Okay, is your ass open? All right. Now here it comes. It's the cave. Just look this way. Waddle over. Keep your ass open while you walk. That's it. That's the stuff.
I think I'm gonna shit.
That's good. That's good. You don't want to bring that in there. Look, listen, if it stayed in there, it was going to come out when you come through.
Oh, embarrassed. When I come through what?
Into the cave. I'm telling you, it was going to leave your body at some point. It's probably good that it happened now.
So wait, you want me to...
You don't want to embarrass yourself in front of what you're about to see.
What am I about to see?
Come just around this bend. Keep those peepers open. Keep ass wide. There's nothing left in there, is there?
Maybe...
That's good. That's good. That's what we want to see. Oh,
shouldn't have had
that is
those
not a healthy shit either, though. Yeah, no, you should have more than just beans.
I'll just be upfront. There could be a lot more.
Could be a lot. Is there a lot more in there?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, come on. Let's do this now.
You didn't tell me that I had to clean out my asshole before I came into this cave.
Well, you were about to go on an adventure. I didn't think you would do it with a full ass.
Oh, fuck.
Who does that? Who does that?
Let's just keep going. I'll just keep it in.
Okay, but I doubt you're going to be able to. Okay, no, you know what? Come around this bend. Okay. Ass open, eyes wide. Go back to the stance. Okay. Okay, now. See how there is nothing but shadows.
Yes.
Now close your eyes.
Oh, fuck.
God, keep the ass open, though. I know it's hard to close one and not the other. Okay, and now open your eyes back up. Hello? It's... Hey there. And it's like little I'm 3 feet tall.
What is it?
Hello. Just, what's more to say? It's me. Horik, the little guy. Hey, just a little guy. It's me, Horik.
I'm just a little guy.
Just a little guy in a cave.
He's so cute.
Hey, we could go further if you want. There's more in here. Deeper.
More little guys?
But first, you gotta let me in your ass.
What?
It's wide open, isn't it?
Well, it's full of
all
shit.
Right. Scatter. Jump. Oh, this is great.
It's so
what's
messy.
with all this shit in here?
It's an ass.
Yeah, no, he's digging it out there. Yeah, no, he's really scooping it out there. See, I told you he wouldn't like it.
This is why we got a riff, man. This is dynamite.
He's not gonna like it. But there's more in there. What, you think I'd bring you in here just for Horik? No, he wants to come in.
The Sarek. Clark.
No, I'm telling you, after this point, it gets really good. This is not a good opener.
This is not a good opener.
But there's like rainbows and chocolate and shit.
Wow.
It's excellent. Yeah,
That's
but
delicious.
There's gonna be more ass stuff first.
There's going to be a lot more ass stuff.
A lot more ass stuff.
Getting anally gaped before I come and meet all the Horiks.
Like I said, it was gonna come out. Yeah. So I guess that's it, guys.
I guess we're wrapping up for the night.
So that's been Horik and the Cave of Wonders. Abby, what are we watching next week?
Next week we're watching Sarek and Clark go on their own little ass adventure.
Are these main episodes or bonuses?
We're going to make people pay for that content.
Oh yeah, this is behind the paywall.
The Legend of Hercules is the film I watched this week, and I have to say, This film was all muscle
Yeah.
and all testosterone, and it was fucking ridiculous.
So silly.
was
I even
so
wrote down as
fun.
one of the things in my notes was Greek stuff this hypermasculine pre 300, and then I immediately afterwards wrote, I think Troy was, you know, like the Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah,
Not quite to the degree of 300. but
300 was like, we need as many abs as possible, and we need
Yeah.
to oil them up as much as possible as
Yeah.
well. And it
People-
was fucking great.
men need to look dehydrated and wet
Yes.
simultaneously.
Slicked with oil. Yeah, but it's so funny to me because, again, it's not like it's even a sexual thing. I think men do it to impress other men.
I think it's a
because-
sexual thing.
You reckon? For
Yeah,
women?
because men, no, I think
For
men do it impress
exactly.
other men.
Well, I think it's not a
It's very
sexual
Greek.
thing geared, to women. It's a sexual thing. It's
No, women think that doesn't look nice.
yeah, it's basically just a flex off between men, and that's what I
Yeah.
couldn't stop laughing about in this film. And I will obviously touch on it later, but a lot of the trivia revolves around who could get the buffest, and
God.
for that reason, I had a great time with this film. Let me tell you, my overall impression was, usually I have to watch these films alone, but this week Claude was like, oh, you're doing a sword and sandal? I love sword and sandals. I'll watch it. So we watched it together this morning, and I realized he kept saying it's the film with the Rock in it, right? And I was like, no, it doesn't have the Rock in it.
The Scorpion King?
That's what
was
I
it?
said. And he was like,
Yeah.
no, not the Scorpion King. Doesn't this film have The Rock? And I was like, no. And he was like, what year did this come out? And I was like, 2014. He was like, it's got The Rock in it. And I was like, no, it doesn't. I looked it up. He was right in that also in 2014, another film came out called Hercules with The Rock in it as Hercules.
Right, because what I also got confused with is, wasn't there like 2 movies about Pompeii that came out? Or was the other Hercules the one that Kit Harington was in a Greek or Roman movie around this time? Or was that later? Jesus, this is terrible.
I don't know. But The Rock was in the other Hercules.
Yeah.
And the other Hercules wasn't that great either, but it
What?
made a lot more money.
Oh.
And was a lot more successful in that respect.
Well, it had The
made
Rock in it.
$250 million, so it did pretty well.
If it's 2014 and you're like, I want to go watch some dudes be really hot, really strong, am I going to see The Rock or Kellen Lutz?
Yeah. Well, Claude said that he had watched it with his friends when it came out because they did exactly that. They got really stoned. They were
Sure.
like, let's go see an epic sword and sandal film where it's just buff dudes fighting.
Yeah.
Again, super homo. And then,
Well, Claude went to go see it.
yeah.
That does track.
Yeah. And then he said that it was really, really boring because it, instead of it being this like weird hypermasculine fuckfest like what we watched, it was really like slow and emotional, and it wasn't allowed to show a lot of violence or gore. So he was really disappointed by it. So he was like, I'll watch this other one. We fucking loved watching this movie because it's so
Yeah.
stupid.
It is
The
stupid.
direction is outlandish. The muscles are enormous. And the amount of slow-mo shots in the fighting scenes were ridiculous. There's a bit where he harnesses lightning and uses it as a whip.
Which, man, I didn't remember that Hercules had a lightning whip. Crazy. I know what you mean. I kind of wish that I watched this with someone else, because instead I watched it half focused yesterday and I was like, what the? I feel like I blinked and I had missed a season of TV.
Yeah.
And then I tried watching it again today. And again, I'm just like, man, this is fucking wild. But there's also never anything happening apart from just people fighting.
I think it starts really strong because it starts with a lot happening, and it starts with his dad, the evil king, basically killing his foe and like winning a whole city. And it's like this epic fight scene where it's just, again, muscles and loincloths and like them throwing swords at each other and lodging sword into stone. And me and Claude were like, this is sick. I think Claude said that about me. He said that what he likes about me is that I can recognize when things are sick, and that like we'd watch like Top Gun Maverick, and every time it was like ridiculously over the top, we'd be like, yeah.
Well, that's why you can write action movies.
Yeah. I love it when things are ridiculously masculine and ridiculously, I guess, just completely out of touch with reality. That's
Yeah.
what I love. And this film, it's all of that.
I love it when they're doing it. It still like flares up an angry part of my brain when they're doing it, and they're like, genuinely though, isn't that cool? I'm like, no, not genuinely. No, not genuinely at all. It's silly.
It's cool on a really dumb level.
It's cool because it's idiotic, right?
There's
And
a
they're
bit
like,
in Top Gun Maverick, not to spoil anything, where
Yeah.
Rooster's just like, Dad, where are you? Like, I need your help. And his dad's dead. And he's like, tell me what to do, Dad. And me and Claude were like, yeah. Because, like, that kind of stuff is dumb. Like, it's over the top, but it's so fun.
Yeah.
So the bits of this film where they tapped into it emotionally, like when Hercules is like, Father, I believe in you. His father being Zeus, by the way, up in the sky.
Well,
and he breaks
Hercules.
chains out of stone and starts whipping people around with blocks of stone. Claude and I were like, this is sick.
That was one of the cooler bits of the movie, I gotta say.
It was great.
It's weird, though, because of how, like, hyper-masculine and, like, idiotic the dialogue is at times. I wrote down the dialogue is always the exact midpoint between local theatre Shakespeare and just a lot of narrative exposition.
Yeah.
A lot of lines that are like, what's his name? Alcides? When he's not Hercules?
Yeah, Alcides.
He's like, Alcides, you need to go back to the capital because I, your brother, am about to get married. You know that because we have this kind of relationship. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Come on.
The script's terrible.
Surely the assembly of this was 9 hours long.
You
This
reckon?
feels like it was like trying to be an entire season of Game of Thrones in 90 minutes. I can't believe this was under 2 hours.
Yeah, it was only an hour and a half.
It's just, it's trying to do so many things. There's so much
I liked
political
that.
maneuvering.
I like that because, not that it's a good movie, but fuck, it had a cracking pace. Things just happened immediately. They wasted no time.
It doesn't pull it off.
No.
But I'm kind of
things
like,
are happening.
maybe if you did take 9 hours, it would be good. You know, if this was Rome.
I think Claude and I, our overall impression was, this has too much going on and it's too entertainingly bad for it to be on this list. It was like, he
But this is what we're
genuinely
here
saying,
for.
I know. He was like saying that the other Rock Hercules, he was like, that was so boring, that should be on this list, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like, this is so entertainingly silly. But I'll launch into some key details.
Hell yeah.
I'll give you the overview and then we can talk about it. So this film was made in 2014, as mentioned, and it has 4.2 stars on IMDb.
We're still there.
It was directed by Rennie Harlin, and Rennie Harlin is the guy that did Cutthroat Island, one of the most notable box office bombs ever from 1995.
Yes. No, I have heard of that.
He was married to Gina Davis, who was the star of Cutthroat Island.
It basically ruined pirate movies until Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Yeah.
And notably, something that I read about it today that I can't shake out of my mind is that Rennie Harlin and Gina Davis also were using funds for the film inappropriately, such as instead of getting funds for props and sets and actors, they put a lot of money towards getting V8 vegetable juice sent to Malta and just drinking it by the gallon.
What?
And at the end of the set, there were still so many unopened cases of V8 vegetable juice that they forced some of the crew to drink it just to get rid of it.
What?
So that was Cutthroat Island, and that's Rennie Harlin.
Why did they... What?
I know. I know. Rennie Harlin also did like Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Oh.
He did Die Hard 2. He did Cutthroat Island, as mentioned. He did Deep Blue Sea.
Oh my God, that movie's fucking awful.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
guy's not good.
No, he's not.
But
So
but maybe he's like who were the fucking, you know, Ghost Rider and Crank, Neville Dean and Taylor. Maybe this guy's maybe Rennie Harlin is the OG Neville Dean and Taylor. He's a misunderstood genius trying to reinvent cinema.
Oh my God. And guess what he also did?
What?
Oh, he also directed Driven.
Really?
This is his second film on the list.
Yay! Rennie Harlin, rating descending all-star.
So that's Rennie Harlin. He directed this, and the film was also written by Daniel Gate and Sean Hood. And as we mentioned, this film stars Kellen Lutz as Hercules. You've also got a bunch of other actors I'd never come across, such as Gaia Weiss, Roxanne McKee, Liam Garrigan, but notably Scott Adkins, who played his father or his evil stepfather king.
Yeah.
And Scott Adkins, I will be talking about a fair bit just because, as per that IMDb trivia that I brought up that we'll get to later, most of the cast were obsessed with how buff Scott Adkins was. Some of the other cast members referring to him as a god.
I mean, hey, good casting then, I guess, is the whole point. Also, it's so funny because Kellen Lutz, I'm pretty sure he's in Breaking Dawn, like the Twilight
He's in
movies.
Twilight. He plays Emmett Cullen.
Oh, he's Emmett Cullen.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's a returning actor.
Yeah.
Because he would have been in New Moon.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
Yep.
he's also rated descending all stuff. But I mostly know him from that episode of 30 Rock where Lutz, the writer, references like, "Oh, my famous cousin," and they're like, "We don't believe you. It's the same as like my girlfriend in
Kellen
Canada."
Lutz.
Yeah. And then he's like, "No, he's really here." And then he comes out and he literally just goes, "Uncle, where are there more marshmallows?" And then like sits on his lap, and it's so weird. And that's the only point of reference I've had for Kellen Lutz.
Is so stupid.
So I love that show.
I do have to say, Kellen Lutz was so bronzed and tan in this that in the first shot that I saw him, I was like, "Whoa, they made Hercules black. That's cool."
Oh,
Yeah, and then I saw a close up of him. I went, "That's a really bad tan job.
a lot of tan.
That's a lot of tan."
That's some Ariana Grande level of tan.
Yeah, 100%. So I can't wait to talk more about Scott Adkins, but this film had a budget of $70 million. However,
That's actually lower than I thought.
well, Rennie Harland later estimated that the budget of the film was probably closer to $20 million rather than the
What?
reported $70 million. He claims it actually wasn't as high as people said it was.
Whoa. Okay, if he's right, how the fuck did he pull it off for $20 million?
Yeah.
I'm actually really impressed.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's true.
That's
but
$100 million less than I expected.
What do you think they made?
I mean, if I just watched this movie, I would think maybe like 20 to 30. But there is another Hercules movie at the same time, which makes me feel like maybe lower. But I don't know. But maybe it made a lot of money. But I don't know who went to watch this instead of The Rock. 20 mil.
I'm going to tell you something.
Okay.
4 digits. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You almost fully broke my brain. If
It
this
made-
made $5,000,
7,250 again. It made $61 million. So it actually
61?
did pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, not that well, considering
that's
that they
still a
think the
bomb.
budget was $70 million.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He claims it was 20, so I don't really know.
Sure. Maybe he just is trying to make sure that he's allowed to make a movie again.
Yeah. So this is the overview. Alcides is the son of a mortal woman and the god Zeus. He is in love with a woman named Hebe, betrothed to his half-brother Iphicles. Alcides is sent away to fight in Egypt after learning his true name is Hercules. In Egypt, Hercules is captured and sold into slavery as a gladiator. He excels and motivates fans to fight against his cruel stepfather, I can never say his name, Amphitryon.
Yeah.
Amphitryon. Back home, when he learns that Hercules was born to defeat him, Amphitryon kills Hercules' mother. Iphicles finds and chains up Hercules. Hercules calls on Zeus for strength and breaks free. Hercules raises an army and storms Amphitryon's palace. Hercules kills Amphitryon with the same blade that killed his mother. He and Hebe live happily ever after.
Do they? I thought she died.
No, she didn't.
What?
She
Wait.
didn't. She lapses into unconsciousness, and then it's like, this is weird. You think that Hebe has sacrificed herself to kill his brother
Yeah.
Iphicles. However, she collapses into his arms, and a year later, he's lying in bed with her, and they have a baby.
I thought,
That's just Hebe.
I didn't see
And they
him.
don't even mention how she survived. She stabbed herself through the heart, and she's just alive with him.
Wait, was he in the bed?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I must have saw it because when I saw it, I thought it was like a flashback to him being born.
No,
To
because
be
his
like,
mother was brunette.
What a moment. Because I even wrote down in my notes, like, I know he wins, but what a bad day for Hercules. Of his entire family and his love dies.
No. She survives. It's a blonde woman in bed,
how does
and
she
they have a
survive
kid.
and the brother doesn't?
I have no idea.
Okay,
That's what we
sure.
said as well. We're
Well,
like,
that's-
she stabbed herself through the heart, she collapses, and then it's like a year later, she's alive.
Well, that was part of the whole final episode of the 9-hour series.
That was bizarre. I mean, there's a lot of things in this movie that just don't make sense. But
No, yeah. Now, look, I think Greek mythology is neat. We all learn a little of it when we're a kid because it and Roman mythology is some of the only things that I think classes know what to teach children, and you know, our culture references it a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like games had a real era where they were like, yeah, Greek mythology or something. But I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think this really is the legend of Hercules.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think this is what happened to Hercules.
It's not, because he went through 12 trials.
I know one of them was the lion thing, right?
Yeah,
And
the
that's-
lion thing.
Yeah,
But
that's
it
a
really
reference.
just goes off course after the beginning. Like, the whole beginning bit of setting up his character is kind of okay and true. But after he kills the lion, everything else is just a story.
Did he really have a mortal father called Amphitryon? I didn't... Because when watching it, I was like, I don't think any of these people are
I've never heard of Amphitryon.
Or Alcides? I don't think any of this is the legend of Hercules.
Actually, let me just double check.
There is a real legend of Hercules, the fake man. You don't have to just do a myth like one for one. That's fine. But I just...
Yeah, he's the foster son of Amphitryon.
Okay.
His mother was also Alcmene, which is correct.
I'm willing to believe. I wish I was more educated on this to correct it, but I'm not, and I feel out of my depth. Normally, I know all the lore.
Honestly, what I mostly know about Hercules is the 12 labors that he has to go through. That's the famous story.
Yeah, so that he can beat James Woods' Hades.
But I don't know if...
Where was Meg?
I don't even know if he did go by Alcides. I can't find it here, but...
I think it's funny because part of how that whole thing shakes out is that the mother has an ally in a priest, I guess, a monk. I don't know what they're called for the Hellenic religion. But like, I could have sworn it was fucking Liam Neeson when I first saw him, and I kept being distracted by it. And I wrote, which is why I wrote my notes, why is Neeson the only one attempting to sound Greek? Because he's the only Greek person there.
Yes.
They all have American accents, but he sounds Greek. It's fine if they just do American accents. That's fine. But it's weird when one person is Greek.
There was a bit of
In
trivia
Greece.
that I cut out because I didn't think it was relevant. But someone pointed out, I don't think this really matters, but someone had literally written down how all of the actors were American and British, and there was one Greek. There was not one Greek actor in the whole thing as well.
Yeah. But that's why I think it's funny that they're like, oh, I can't remember that character's name. Oh, priest, haha, how are you? And he's like, yes, hello, I am. I can't do a Greek accent, so I'm not going to try.
We'll cut that.
Cut it. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Yeah, no, this movie was just fucking insane.
I loved it. I think some of the fight scenes were just so outlandish and so silly. Again, I love their weird use of slow-mo as men are jumping at each other. Like there's this one bit where Hebe is stuck in this rushing rapid.
Yeah.
And he throws himself into the river to save her. And it's just this slow motion shot of him jumping through the air. It's just full of shit like that. It's so fun.
Yeah.
There is a scene as well when him and his brother Iphicles fight the lion, which is one of the 12 labors. Mm-hmm. And he just ends up strangling the lion. Like he's just got it in it like a neck hold, and he's just like strangling the shit out of it. And we were like, is he really just...
Is that the lion has impenetrable skin.
Yeah.
So he chokes it. Clever Hercules. Good plan.
Also loved how tragically terrible that CGI lion was.
Yeah. But I also thought it was neat that it was a big lion.
There was a lot of bad CGI in this.
Oh, yeah. The whole thing looks ugly. It's funny because even when it looked nice, it still looked bad because, for example, at the very end, you know, the Hebe is about to jump off a building.
Which gave her the heebie-jeebies.
What a follow-on to that sentence. Before the priest is like, you don't know what's going to happen. Let me show you. And then he like takes her to the meadow that she was last with Hercules. And it like... There's all these like particles in the air that are not explained at all, and he's just like swimming.
There's so many particles. He's swimming, and he gets up, and I was like, as if are they getting hay fever? Are they going to break out into coughs and sneezes?
At first, it's just like spots in the air. You could believe it's like dust or something, and then when he gets up in his shots, it's just flooding. It's like a blizzard.
I was like, he's wet. Is it not clinging to him?
He should get me all fluffy.
He's just covered in pollen. These fucking plane trees.
And it's like, I think it looks, when it's not those shots where it looks like he's in a fucking pollen blizzard, I think it actually looks pretty because particles in the air are just, for me, a shortcut to looking nice.
Yeah.
There's some locations in Elden Ring that do it, and every time I'm like, gorgeous. Just like stuff in the air. Looks great.
You should try dusting your house on a sunny day. But it'll really get you going.
Yeah, it looks good. But it did also still look like a $20 asset pack that you could get, like plug in for Premiere, $20. Yeah, you know those. Yeah, overlay, and then there's no way to use it because it looks cheap and shit.
Yeah.
It did kind of just look like that. Maybe that's how it was 20 million.
There's a bit where she's looking at this funeral pyre that she thinks is like Hercules because Hebe thinks he's dead. And she's like crying in front of it, and they just CGI'd some flames at the bottom of the screen of her crying to show as if the camera was placed in the pyre, and it's so cheaply done. There's even a bit where she's riding a horse and she turns around to check over her shoulder, and you can just see the green screen in front of her.
Yeah.
So notably a green screen after these better shots of her riding head on.
Yeah.
It just really takes you out of the moment. You're like, it's shocking.
Even the like more low-key scenes are still filmed in a batshit way. There's one bit where he and I never caught his name, his like friend who was the commander of his thingy.
I can't remember. It was like Sophocles or something.
Let's say Sophocles. Soracles?
Yes, it started with an S.
Soracles. Let's go with Soracles. He and Soracles have just been captured and they're chained together and they're like just talking. Like he's like, oh my God, I can't believe that we got sent to our deaths just to kill you. That's crazy. And Hercules is like, no, I will save you, reunite you with your wife. It's just like a conversation in a jail cell. And the camera is not just moving, it's like spinning around them at such a fast rate. You're almost dizzy. Like Transformers would have watched it and been like, whoa, that's a bit much.
There was so much camera movement, but there was a lot of things that reminded me of Lord of the Rings. There were some bits where they're marching to battle over these bridges, and it reminded me of the elves arriving to Helm's Deep. Like there's lots of camera movement. They're not just doing a wide, they are shifting this wide, they're tracking up and they're moving out and they're going over things. It feels like Peter Jackson. So there were bits of it where I was kind of like, I know this is stupid, but I love these shots because they're so ambitious and so over the top that it's just such a nice refreshing break from just static still direction.
Yeah, this is fucking insane. But it's also, I'm like, man, you're really giving it your all, and I love that.
We talk about this all the time. We love it when a film, even if it's shit, tries its absolute hardest, and everyone in this film tried so hard. You know, everything about this film was so overly ambitious. I can't hate it. I can't. I think it's great. I think it was stupid, but I think it's great.
That's
and
what
I actually
mean.
had such a good time watching it.
If this was 2 hours 20, just to give it a little bit more breath.
Don't say that.
No, look, I like the pacing, but also it makes everything incomprehensible.
So you would want this to be longer?
I don't want it to be slow.
You know how important it is to me that these things are an hour and a half, Michelle? Don't you dare say that.
I don't want it to be slow, but when they're like, there's these political things, I want at least one scene where someone goes, this is what's happening. Instead of like literally they've just killed the lion and then they're like, oh my God, that love. Oh yeah, well you're going to marry her for the king and now you're away. And like on the ship, he's like, haha, I can't believe I've been separated from my love, which is why the political situation is going to be crazy because he traditionally conquers even his neighbor Argos, which explains what the first scene was. And now we're becoming allies with Crete. I don't trust it. And I'm like, just make this 3 scenes instead of one insane piece of
I will
exposition.
say, I can't believe this film was an hour and a half and Sex and the City 2 had an extra hour on it, that it was 2.5 hours. How is that possible?
Sex and the City 2 was an hour longer than this. It's almost a full movie longer than this.
I just can't. I know I keep bringing it up. Sex and the City 2 it's some kind of trauma I haven't tried to address yet, you know?
It's also, I know it's just a title, but especially in that movie, because they're not even in New York, there's neither sex nor the city.
Yeah. They're all older women on break from their husbands and partners or single, and they don't have sex.
It's like if the Democratic Party would like, I know what the people need. It's a fun video of Hillary Clinton on vacation. That's what that
movie
movie was.
Celibacy and markets. That's what it was. Celibacy and resorts. I don't know.
Whereas, fucking Hercules in Greece, like at the beginning when he's like, I'm Amphitryon of Tyrus.
It was like Tyrann. Oh, I can find it.
But this, like, Crete is a real island that was also a kingdom. People know Athens and Sparta, and to a lesser extent, Thebes.
Tyrannus.
And Corinth. But I don't know a lot of the things they were talking about.
Yeah.
And they didn't really make it easy to know what was happening.
Tyrannus is a Mycenaean archaeological site in Argolis in the Peloponnese.
Wait, so was this meant to be Mycenaean Greece instead of like the classical Greece that we know?
I guess so.
I don't think did the Mycenaeans even believe in the Hellenic religion?
Ask me questions.
No, because they were in the Bronze Age. They all collapsed before the classic ancient Greece we think of. These are entirely separate Greeces.
I don't know, but apparently, like, he's a real guy, and Tyrannus is, like, well, he's a real mythological
a real guy.
But Tyrannus really is part of Amphitryon's Wikipedia page,
okay.
So I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, no, but look, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just saying, like, this is the bridge that I don't know. I know that Mycenaean Greece is different. I don't know. Gosh, maybe I just.
This really highlights how little we know about this,
which is why
I can't criticize.
They need to explain it a little bit. That's kind of what I'm saying, right?
They just expect you to know it. They really do. But to be honest, it is a very popular legend and mythology.
But it's not like Robin Hood, who I have in my notes for a different reason. people know Robin Hood, where they know Robin Hood, and then most people, but not everyone, know what's his name, Friar Tuck, and then what's the fucking girlfriend's name? What's her name?
Taya Fruck. Oh, you mean Marion?
Marion, and the Sheriff of Nottingham and King Arthur. They don't necessarily, not King Arthur, King John.
John was the king during the Robin Hood story. Because the thing they don't necessarily know about the Robin Hood legend is that King John was king of the Angevin English Empire when they were in war with France because they had territory in France. They were actually primarily a French sort of empire. You know, all of these historical. You don't need to know that to get Robin Hood. This is like taking Hercules and going like putting him in the middle of a whole bunch of shit happening and going political conflict.
Yeah, and going, people know that. People don't know that. I didn't know it. What's going on?
100%.
What's going on?
It was a lot to process.
How is there so much exposition?
But apart from the lore of Hercules, let's go back to those sick fight scenes.
Well, what was the brother's name? Iphicles. He was very much, for me, channeling Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator.
That's exactly what Claude and I said. He had the whole haircut. He had the gaunt, hollow eyes.
Yeah.
The goth demeanor. You know, he's like the evil brother because he's brunette and he's sad.
but like Commodus is immediately unredeemable.
Yes.
Right?
Whereas this guy did have a turnaround a little bit in that.
He almost did.
And then he stabbed the shit out of the old guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I was keen for the ending where it ends up being brother and brother against their shitty dad.
I thought they would too, and I was a bit disappointed by that turnaround. But again, it subverted expectations, and then I thought he would go good, and I was like, okay, he stayed bad. What really fucked me up is that, again, we mentioned this earlier, in the final fight scene, Hebe basically sacrifices herself by plunging a dagger through her heart and into Iphicles behind her.
Really long dagger.
And it was a really shocking moment because you're like, you didn't expect her to do it. And me and Claude were like, whoa, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So when she didn't die and ended up having a baby with him a year later, we were like, well, that's really fucking lame. You didn't even explain how she survived. You didn't even give us a moment of like showing her recover. She literally is still alive when he comes to grab her. Iphicles is so dead. She's alive. And it fades out and fades in and she's just fine.
Yeah, it literally, I feel like there's like 4 maidens around as well. Like they feel like fairy nymphs around.
There's a lot of women washing men in this film. Like,
yeah, there is.
There's that bit where Amphitryon earlier in the film is talking to his wife and there's just 2 women bathing him. And again, this is Scott Adkins, so his muscles are like taut and bulging and they're just washing him down.
By the way, in that opening scene, you're like, whoa, this is a strong guy. And then when he comes back, like he has this beard because now he does diplomacy too, but like even his beard is chiseled. It's the most like strong beard. It has such a sharp edge.
Even his beard flexes.
Like, yeah, he has the most muscles I've seen and his beard has a jawline by itself. Like it was crazy how strong good beard work.
That scene where the beard grabs that whole man and rips him in half.
Flexes. Whoa, look at those bulging
beard dripping in sweat.
Beards.
Well, actually, I have some trivia about Scott Adkins' age progression in this film. Mm-hmm. So do you want to hear some trivia?
Yeah, I do.
IMDb trivia.
Scott Adkins' character is seen at 2 different ages in the film, younger and older. And Adkins created 2 different looks for the character. He said he wanted to look extremely, quote, lean and ripped for the younger scenes, showing highly defined 8-pack abs and a shirtless scene, as compared to very muscular and bulky for the older scenes, where he just had to show his biceps in sleeveless costumes. He said for the younger scenes he ate very carefully and trained a lot to achieve the ultra-cut look, but for the older scenes he trained just as hard but ate what he wanted because the focus was on size and not muscle definition, and he did not have a shirtless scene anymore. And so like I literally love that this guy didn't care about the actual character development. He's like, I need to ensure that my body is correct.
But he knows what the marketing of the movie is.
Yeah.
It's horrific the way we like make men torture themselves.
I know,
to
truly
achieve
and
these looks.
Honestly, hearing about what some of these guys did on set, I really mean it. A lot of this trivia is circulated around how hard the men push themselves to be able to show themselves shirtless.
That's what it is with every one of these movies.
Yeah.
It's all about how incredible and awesome it is that they like fucking punish themselves to death.
But they're
to
miserable
look
and
fucking jacked.
painful. Yeah.
It's
100%.
weird. I do love that person felt the need to specify 2 ages, younger and older.
I know.
I want to know any dynamic where there's 2 ages and one of them isn't younger and one of them isn't older.
Also, what I read about Scott Adkins, because I didn't know about this guy existing, and I read that he's in so many franchises as the buff action star. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
But
that.
I've never seen him in anything. I even found out there's a podcast about him called Adkins Undisputed, where they
What?
talk about every film he's ever been in. He even came in to guest in some of the episodes because he was in the Undisputed
Wow.
franchise.
Oh.
So Scott Adkins is like, a lot of people think of him. There's even a Reddit thread that I found about, I did a lot of research into Scott Adkins.
I just feel like you're also telling me that we missed an opportunity to have a guest.
I found this Reddit thread and it was basically, it just said like Scott Adkins would have been so much more appreciated in the 80s. And it's true.
Yeah.
He truly is what Jean-Claude Van Damme was doing for the 80s now. And in saying that, Scott Adkins' biggest idol was Jean-Claude Van Damme. They even worked
Makes
together
sense.
in 4 films together. So
Yeah.
he is just a buff action hero. And I do think he was the highlight of the film because he brought so much fucking raw anger and like
Yeah.
machismo.
He, in addition to his incredible physique, he does do a good job as like an evil king. I
Yeah.
believe that he's an evil king.
I feel like I spent most of this morning just giggling over this trivia because it's all about how buff the dudes are. Director Rennie Harlan mandated that all the male actors shave their legs along with their torsos because the film was being shot natively in 3D. And he said that their hair stuck out when you shot with stereoscopic cameras.
Surely.
Imagine watching a film and little leg hairs are jumping out at you.
That's not, he's fully lying. My guy is up and down, completely lying. He just wants to see some smooth, he doesn't want the leg hair to get in the way of the muscles.
Due to the heavy armor worn by his character throughout the film, Jonathan Schaech
Okay, I believe you.
was bitterly disappointed that he was unable to appear shirtless in the film.
Oh, come
He
on.
had been following a punishing bodybuilding and dieting regime
Okay, that
to
would make me
prepare for
cranky.
the role.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Kellen Lutz said his co-star Scott Adkins had the body of a god and that his physique was so great it looked green screened. He also said that it made his Hercules character not look as good.
It kind of does, to be honest. Like, Hercules is not the strongest looking person in this movie. I now am obsessed with thinking about all of them like shirtless and like looking at each other and like,
Yeah.
like whoa, oh my god, whoa, just cupping
really
each other
is.
tenderly.
Honestly, yeah. Kellen Lutz was praised and quizzed about his physical transformation for the role of Hercules and the length of time it took to transform himself when in fact Lutz was cast just 2 weeks before principal photography began. So the physique scene in the film was more or less his regular physique. He credited his active lifestyle for allowing him to portray the role of Hercules. Something else I read about him, which isn't here, is that on set, he would ensure that he was like as ripped as possible each scene. So Kellen Lutz would, between takes, just get up and start doing push-ups and crunches.
Oh my God.
And he did up to 1,000 a day. And that just kept him so taut for every scene.
This is like how like Hugh Jackman with Wolverine would like he'd only have a limited window to do takes because he was so dehydrated and so like having to build adrenaline in himself to look that jacked
Yeah.
that like they would get like a few minutes or he'd faint.
Yeah.
It's
It's
awful.
insane. Director Rennie Harlan said that he chose Scott Adkins for the role of King Amphitryon because of his acting skills,
I think that's the normal reason.
incredible physical ability, and his incredible physique. He said that King Amphitryon had to be the biggest badass the audience had ever seen, and only Scott Adkins can fill that bill.
Look, I don't want to buy into
I do.
this whole thing,
It's sick.
but he is right.
The whole film is like the war of getting ripped, you know? Who can get the most ripped? for this
Whoever
film.
rules Greece is who is the most jacked.
Just love this poor actor that like worked himself rigorously and then didn't get a shirtless scene. He was like, fuck.
At least give him a heads up.
Apparently Scott Adkins also was like obsessed with Gerard Butler in 300 and really
Yeah,
tried to base his physique off of Gerard Butler as well. Like he loved the way that he fought in 300 and the way he like showed off his muscles, and he really styled
Truly
himself under that.
the blueprint for post 2000s. How can we still make every man look fucking jacked?
So that's a bit of trivia on how ripped and lean everyone in the cast
Can you
was.
imagine how muscular his cock must be?
Can you imagine how sweaty that whole cast would have been?
Yeah.
How bad it would have smelled on set?
Oh my god.
Is he seriously doing another 200
Imagine how
crunches?
forcefully they must fuck the shit out of each other. Ugh.
Do you want to
That's
hear
it.
some reviews?
Yeah, I do. Now that's an exercise.
Review!
On Rotten Tomatoes, this film has an approval rating of 5%.
I've transcended personally. I'm beyond being a podcast host.
I think that's not fair for this film. They're too ripped.
No, but it's Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe 95% of people said a 6.5 or like just under.
All of the reviews were just not enough Scott Adkins.
Could be more ripped. Why weren't the women cast ripped? Make them ripped. That's what I'm missing. If I'm telling you, if there was a scene where Hebe was also jacked and stepped on someone, I don't know if I could have recorded this. I'd be done. I'd be gone. Make the women in these movies ripped too. Don't make them all dainty and then like cry at the window.
I think that I gave this film a bad review because that guy didn't get a shirtless scene. The site's consensus on Rotten Tomatoes reads, cheap-looking, poorly acted, and dull, The Legend of Hercules is neither fun enough to qualify as an action movie nor absorbing enough to work on a dramatic level.
That's right.
Chris Stuckman of chrisstuckman.com, who is a top critic, wrote, this film should be removed from theaters as soon as possible to avoid damaging the brains of people who have the misfortune of seeing it.
Rough.
Yeah. Mike McCarhill from The Guardian wrote, no one seems to have high hopes for it, though it might well help to pass a wet afternoon when it shows up on Netflix 15 minutes from now.
Yeah.
And William Goss of Empire magazine said, the lore of Hercules has spanned centuries, yet it's unlikely to ever see a more generic treatment on film than that of Rennie Harlin's overblown original story.
Yeah.
This is an IMDb review that is 10 out of 10, left by Anchor Chandelier, and the subject is awesome in 3D. So far, the best 3D movie I have ever seen. Everything was fine in the movie. It's worth every single penny spent. You feel the fire arrows, spears, and rain dropping on you. A lot of hard work is poured in making the movie come alive. I congratulate the graphic designers who do the 3D storytelling to a new level in making the movie alive. Seriously, I have seen a recent movie in 3D, 47 Ronin, comparing it with the special effect of The Legend of Hercules. The effects in 47 Ronin are no match for this film. The movie is watchable. There are a few kissing scenes, but the kissing is short and decent. 10 out of 10.
You can't tell me that was a 10. This movie's watchable.
This movie's watchable.
To the defense of that guy, though, 47 Ronin, I'm pretty sure, is like one of the biggest box office bombs of all time.
Oh.
Yeah. We should do it.
We should. I think we should do Cutthroat Island as a bonus because it's not on the list. It's 5.7 on IMDb.
I'm actually going to write it down right now.
Yeah. This is a film left by Jay Gutierrez. 10 out of 10 review, and the subject was, oh my, what a treat. And then like a colon and a little like D, like a face.
Yeah. Colon D with the big smiley.
Yeah, colon D. Every so often, there is a movie that is so jaw-dropping that you need to sit there in awe at the sheer brilliance. That is this film. This movie evoked a variety of emotion from me that ranged from sadness to laughter to sobbing to laughing again to sobbing while balled up in the corner in my living room. What? Sometimes all at once. This movie had everything. Hercules playing warrior Jesus. Evil Leonidas portrayed by his human dad. Gladiator scenes with a couple of Mad Max rejects. The greatest CGI lion my father had ever seen in the 80s. The evil brother with the dark circles under his eyes from every movie that has an evil brother with dark circles under his eyes. The slow motion battle scenes from the 300. The other slow motion battle scenes from the 300. And of course, a Herculean story that makes you think, where is the Hercules story? Oh yes, it even had the Sword of Olympus from the God of War games. What? All in all, this movie killed my inner child. 2 out of 5, just because I hated my inner child. 10 out of 10. Unhinged.
Yeah, I've evaporated. No, it's never going to get better than this. Hey, audience, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's ever going to get better.
That guy is funnier than us.
Can we get him as a guest?
Yeah. 2 out of 5 just because I hate my inner child. Well, Michelle, that was that absolute lunatics review. What was yours?
Well, I mean, look, it's hard for me to like come down after everything that we've just gone through together through the trivia and the reviews.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's interesting also looking at like a Greek. I feel like post Gladiator, you would have expected Greek movies to like have a resurgence.
Yeah.
And they just didn't. And then like I feel like Greek mythology, apart from the sword and sandal era, is like Robin Hood and like King Arthur. Like we've tried so many times to make it into. There's a bunch of movies about this. Everyone's into it now, and it just hasn't worked. And this doesn't make the case for how it could work, but it is fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's stupid and bad. But it's kind of fun. It does give you brain damage. I do agree with that with Chris Stuckman. So I don't know, maybe like a 4.3. It's not good, but I had a fun time. I actually actively will watch this again.
I also will, and I have to say, if 5 is a good year, I will watch this. So I've enjoyed this so much more than a good year.
That's true.
So I'm going over 5, baby. If anything, I thoroughly enjoyed the pure testosterone of this stupid movie, and I want to give it maybe merely for the lightning fucking whip scene alone.
What are you about to do?
Like a 7 out of 10.
No, 7? I was going to say
fun.
I could maybe bump it up to 5.2 if I'd watched it with someone, but 7
out of 10. Claude would give it like a 9 out of 10, dude. He was fucking frothing it. 7 out of 10, baby.
So this is how you know you can't trust our opinion.
Yeah. No, my brain's warped. It's been fucked for a long time.
It wouldn't have been a 7 at the beginning of this.
Almost 2 years, man. What do you expect?
We're coming up to the 2 year.
Yeah.
We're really close to the 100th episode.
It's going to be exciting.
I mean, it's a movie called Boogeyman. I don't know if it's going to be exciting,
All right.
but it'll be fun.
Guys, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're everywhere. We are lurking behind every corner watching you with a big telescope. You can find us on Twitter under Rate Descend Pod. You can find us on TikTok under Rating Descending, or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com.
Or hate the pod but love either of us individually, you can find me personally on Twitter and Instagram at michelle.stclair.
And you can find me on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward.
Or alternatively, if you're not a fan of us but love the podcast, you could leave us a review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts
Wherever
or
you
anywhere
get it.
else where they let you leave reviews.
Well, Michelle, that was The Legend of Hercules. What are we watching next week?
Next week, we are watching Are We Done Yet?
Well, are we? It's the end of the episode, right?
We're not. Well,
No, we're done.
We're about to be done.
No, we are done.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we figured that out.
We'll.
What are we watching next week?
We're watching. Well, are we done yet?
Yeah, we're done.
Are we done?
What are we
yet?
watching next week?
Are we done yet?
Yes. What are we watching next week?
Are we having fun yet? That's a
Yeah.
That's a fucking what's it called? Party Down reference.
See ya.